Hey, Sunrise Kids, it's Mrs. Murray, and I get to do Sunday school today. We're going to talk about miracles. Isn't that going to be fun? First, parents, if there's any parents that are listening, make sure you listen to Pastor Jerome, because today he's going to also talk about the Song of Moses, which is a song of redemption. And kids, redemption means that it's an action of saving or being saved from our sins and from our errors, the things we do wrong, and from sin. And Pastor Jerome is going to talk about, I think, two different type of scriptures that is the Song of Moses, and then another one in the book of Revelation. Moses' story is in Exodus, but today we're going to talk about miracles. Now, a miracle is a surprising and welcome event that cannot be explained by natural or scientific laws and is therefore considered to be the work of the divine agency, which we know who that is. And it's a really neat miracle, one of my favorite ones that are in the Bible. Can you guys think of any other miracles in the Bible that you know Jesus did and God did too? Gosh, Dustin, Everly, the Johnson kids, can you think of, I bet you can just sit here and name them. You can stop the movie or the video and just name them yourselves. Desiree, you'd probably know them. All the Anderson kids, I know you know them all. You could probably name a lot of the miracles. There's a lot, and we've studied a lot of them. But before we go into that, I want to talk to you quickly about the preview before we get to parting of the Red Sea, and that's our miracle that we're going to talk about today. And that's when God asked Moses to help him, and he needed to go to Pharaoh. Now, Pharaoh was evil. He was the Antichrist back then in Rome, and I mean in Egypt. And it says in the book of Revelation that the Antichrist will come and destroy the earth. But I tell you, the Pharaoh was doing a pretty good job. But God wanted to show the Pharaoh and the Egyptians that he is the God, the most powerful. They had a lot of different gods they prayed to. And if you guys remember the different plagues, that because they wouldn't listen to Moses when he asked them to let go the people, because they were the servants of all the Egyptians and they were treated so badly, that God used plagues to show him his glory and his miracles and his power and his protection. Because, during all those plagues, the Israelites, guess what? They did not get touched by any of these plagues. When he sent the blood in the water, the frogs, the lice, the gnats, the flies, all the cattle and their goats and their camels and cows and all that, they died in Egypt, not where the Israelites were. Pestilence, the people got sick, and all the domestic animals, that's your cats and your dogs and any pets that you had, they all died. Then he sent boils, those horrible, horrible things that just were all over their bodies, in their mouths, in their nose, in their hands and feet. He sent hail, which destroyed all the trees and the plants, and then he sent the locusts in, which just devastated all of their harvest, so they had no food to eat. The locusts ate it all. And then darkness came, where they couldn't even put their hands in front of they couldn't see anything, it was so dark. And then, of course, the last one is the death of the firstborn male of every family, and the firstborn male of all of their animals, and the cattle and the sheep and the goats and everything. And that's it. Pharaoh said, I'm done. Go. He let the people go. So he said, go to where you need to go and worship your God, and then come back after 3 days. Okay, so away Moses went, and he led the people on, and God directed him. And God went in front of him in the form of a giant cloud, where they followed him. And then they also at nighttime could follow him, because he was a big pillar of fire. Wow, that is pretty interesting, isn't it? But guess what happened? Pharaoh changed his mind again. He was so mad, and I'm going to read the story. In the Bible, it gives lots of good details. So I want you to put your imagination caps on and try to go to Egypt, and right now with Moses, because he's still serving and doing what the Lord asked him to do. So it's in Exodus chapter 14, and we're starting with verse 5. When word reached the king of Egypt, that's the Pharaoh, that the Israelites were not planning to return to Egypt after 3 days, but to keep on going, The Pharaoh and his staff became bold and angry. "What is this we have done? Letting all these slaves get away," they asked. So Pharaoh led the chase in his chariot, followed by the pick of Egypt's chariot corps of 600 chariots and then some. And they were all driven by the Egyptian officers. Can you imagine? 600 chariots. How many people were in a chariot? I don't know. 2? At least 2. And they pursued the people of Israel, for they had taken much of the wealth of Egypt with them. Pharaoh's entire cavalry, all of his horses, all the chariots, and the charioteers, the drivers, those used in the chase, and the Egyptian army overtook the people of Israel as they were camped beside the shore near Pi-hahiroth, across from the Baal-Zephon, which was right in front of the Red Sea. They had mountains on this side, they had mountains on this side, and they had the Red Sea right here, so they weren't going anywhere. As the Egyptian army approached, the people of Israel saw them far from the distance, speeding after them, and they were terribly frightened. And they cried out to the Lord to help them. Then they turned toward Moses, and they whined, "Have you brought us out here to die in the desert because there were not enough graves for us in Egypt? Why did you make us leave Egypt?" Now they're whining about getting set free. "Isn't this what you were told while we were slaves, to leave us alone? We said it would be better to be slaves in Egypt than dead in the wilderness." But Moses told the people, "Don't be afraid. Just stand and watch, and you will see the wonderful way the Lord will rescue you and protect you today. The Egyptians you are looking at, you will never see them again. The Lord will fight for you, and you won't need to lift a finger." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Quit praying and get the people moving. Forward, march, use your rod, and hold your rod over the water and see, and wave, and sea will open up a path before you, and the people of Israel shall walk through on the dry ground." I want to show you the picture. This, to me, I think, can you guys see it, is what it probably looked like. There were a lot of them, and they just got to the other side and looked at the chariots in the other side. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Quit praying. Make those people go forward. That'll open the path before you, and all the people of Israel shall walk through on dry ground." I can't imagine. The Red Sea is really big. That is really a big sea. And science can't just explain that. And nature can't do that. So he said he will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they will go in right after you. And you'll see the honor I will get in defeating Pharaoh and all of his armies, chariots and horsemen. And all of Egypt shall know that I am Jehovah. Then the angel of God, who was leading the people of Israel, moved the cloud. Remember I told you it was in the cloud, around behind them. And it stood between the people of Israel and the Egyptians. And that night, as it changed to a pillar of fire, it gave darkness to the Egyptians, but light to the people of Israel. So the Egyptians couldn't find the Israelites. They remember crossing the sea. Meanwhile, Moses stretched his rod over the sea, and the Lord opened up the path through the sea with the walls of the water on each side, and a strong east wind blew all that night, drying the sea bottom. And the people of Israel walked through the sea onto dry ground. Then the Egyptians followed them between the walls of water along the bottom of the sea. They were probably scared to death, but Pharaoh told them they had to go. But in the early morning, Jehovah looked down from the cloud, that's God, of fire upon the array of the Egyptians and began to harass them. Their chariot wheels began to come off so that their chariots scraped along the dry ground, and they all yelled, "Let's get out of here," the Egyptians yelled. "Jehovah is fighting for them and against us." When all the Israelites were on the other side, the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand and again over the sea and your rod, so the waters will come back over the Egyptians and their chariots and their horsemen." Moses did, and the sea returned to normal beneath the morning light. The Egyptians tried to flee, but the Lord drowned them in the sea. The water covered the path, and the chariots and the horsemen and all of the army of Pharaohs that chased after the Israelites through the sea. Not one remained alive. The people of Israel had walked through on the dry land, and the waters had been well walled up on either side of them. Thus Jehovah saved Israel and protected Israel that day from the Egyptians, and the people of Israel saw the Egyptians gone, washed up on the seashore. And when the people of Israel saw the mighty miracle the Lord had done for them against the Egyptians, they were afraid, and they revered the Lord and believed in him, and also their trust in Moses again. That's a big miracle. Can you imagine how scared even the Israelites were of walking through that? Because the fish were still hanging around and the seaweed, and that was amazing, amazing. And then they could watch the Egyptians who treated them so poorly, and they vanished. God took them away. I want to tell you a quick miracle before we go for a quick break. This miracle is, we used to go fishing all the time in a place called Dinky Creek. And my brother is an avid fisherman. That means he's really, really good. He wanted to take my sister and I up Dinky Creek. And you have to walk from pool, and then the stream gets really small, and then you walk up to the next pool, and it's very dangerous. So my little buddy Coleman, who was I think 3 or 4, couldn't come. So I grabbed my fishing pole, and when you fish in a stream or a creek, you can't let the fish see you, or else they'll never bite your lure. You have to sneak up all fours with your rod in hand. Then you have to pop your lure into the little pool, and if there's fish in there, they'll bite it and you get a fish. And I was terrible. I was so excited when I caught fish. And you can't yell either, because then it would scare the fish away for the next person who could catch them. So I got the first pool. I was so excited, and I crawled on my hands and knees with my rod in my hand, and I crawled all the way up. It was granite rock all the way around. That's really slippery around the granite rock. So I stayed down low, and I saw the rock wall, and I hit my lure on the rock wall, can't even say that, and it popped into the water, and smack, caught a fish. I was so excited. And you know how excited I get over silly things. I was so excited. So I was standing now, because I had the fish on the line, on this kind of soft granite rock, and the water was coming up, and I wanted to yell to my sister and my brother, but they had gone up to the next pool, but I couldn't. I didn't want to scare their fish. And all of a sudden, my feet slipped out from underneath me, and this is rock down here, solid rock. And if I would have landed on my derriere, I probably would have broken my tailbone, because it was just rock. And I felt something come under me and lift me down softly. It was holding me in the air, and it lifted me down and put me on the rock. I kind of looked around. Okay, who just did that? So I believe it was an angel. I would believe it was God protecting me, because it was a long way down that mountain too. I wouldn't have made it. They would have had to probably bring a helicopter in or something. But it was my angel that came and saved me. It was my miracle. And God even let me keep the fish on the line. So I was so excited. I got the big fish too. Well, that's my miracle. And I tell everybody that story because I love fishing. And I just love that God protects me and has protected me my whole life. Even in college, when I walked away a little bit from it, from going to church on Sundays, every Sunday, like I had for my whole life. And God protected me in many situations, some of the poor choices I made, and He still protected me, and He protects you today. We are going to get to watch a little bit of a video now, which is, I think, really kind of fun. It's about protection, and it's an object lesson about apple seeds. And I learn every time from these videos that I've been watching, that's object lessons, but it's about protection. So I am going to close this right now, and we're going to watch this little bit of a video, and then I'll just come back and just say goodbye and just tell you how much I love you. So don't tune out, because here's a really fun video to watch about God's protection.
How many of you guys like apples? Apples are a great food because you can do so many different things with them. You can make applesauce, you can make candy apples, you can make apple pie or apple cakes. You can also have them in different salads, like with fruit and vegetables, or you can make apple juice or apple cider. Or you can simply pick up an apple and eat it. Have you ever accidentally eaten an apple seed? They're usually in the core and are kind of hard to get to, but it sometimes happens, doesn't it? Well, here's something you might not know. Apple seeds are poisonous. Each seed has just a tiny little bit of poison in it. It's not near enough to harm you. You'd have to eat a lot of apple seeds in order to begin feeling sick. But it's still in there. You know, sometimes in life, bad things happen. We get sick, we struggle. But just like the apple seed, God promises to never give us more than we can handle. If you accidentally swallow an apple seed, it's not going to hurt you because it's not more poison than your body can handle. And when you go through hard times, God promises He will help you through them because He'll never give you more than you can handle. Before He was crucified, Jesus said to His disciples in John 16:33, "I have told you these things, so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world." Let's take a moment to thank God for that promise.
Hey guys, did you enjoy that video? We have lots of fun little videos like that to throw into our little Sunday lessons. And this one again is on protection. You know, God protects you every day. I just wanted to finish up and just tell you that miracles happen every day. And if you have a miracle, I would love for you to call me and tell me, even if it happened to your family when you were on vacation somewhere, if it even happened to your own little dog or your cat and it was a miracle that happened, I would love to hear it. I'd love to hear from you because we're still, learning apart from each other. I wanted to tell you too a couple facts about the parting of the Red Sea. I did a little checking out in the Bible and some of the commentaries about this verse. I think you'll find it quite interesting, Miss Natalie, that it probably took 8 to 12 hours for the waters to part. If you look, I'd love for you guys to look in the map and look at how big the Red Sea is. And if you think about it, how Moses put his rod up and then he had to put his hand up and then God parted the Red Sea, but it just didn't go, it just took him 8 to 12 hours. And the people probably started really slow walking into it and then coming out on the other side because there were thousands and thousands of Israelites. There were all of them, all God's people who were walking through. And all they had to do was listen. All they had to do was obey Moses' instructions. He got them from God. And those are so important for us to remember every single day. And God reveals to us every single day His power. And in so many ways, to me, they're all miracles. To watch my plants grow on my patio are miracles. But God parted the Red Sea. Now our scientists try to figure it out. You could even take a tiny little saucer and put a little water in it, and a little food coloring in it, and then you would drip rubbing alcohol down the middle of it, and it dries it up in the center. But how big would that dropper have to be to do the Red Sea? See, it's not explainable. So God's miracles are really those things that you can't explain. Those are only those miracles that He could do. God also does many, many powerful things for us, and He does it every single day. He keeps us alive. He keeps us focused. I know it's so hard for you guys to do your online learning. I bet you're so bored. I would be bored too. But just hang in there. Just, it's not going to last forever, and we're going to be together soon. I just know, and we need to keep praying for that. He brings the sun up in the morning. That's can't explain that one. He showers the earth, all the rain that comes down on and makes our trees grow. He does that. Think of it, of rain in the desert, of the cactus and the trees, those big old trees that only they get water from when God waters the desert. He even created gravity to keep us from accidentally flying into outer space. Think about it. You can't explain gravity. You know who made it. So I want you guys this week to spend some time in prayer, thanking God for His mighty power, because He does have unbelievable power. But also, I want you to remember that we need to be grateful. We need to have a heart of gratitude, especially for the things that he does for us, especially the miracles that he shares with us. Again, I want you to call me with any kind of miracle that you've seen or heard, or any, and we need to connect. We need to stay in touch. I sent a calendar, a September calendar it's called a prayer September calendar. And so you pray each day on what it says for that day to do. So it'll talk about, just finding things that God created. And that's all you do. It's something fun to do, but it keeps you connected with our big Father God, who gives us miracles all the time. I want you to look around today and look at his creation, his beautiful creation. And they're all miracles. I mean, they are all miracles. There are miracles that you and I have a house and food. With the COVID, these horrible things that are happening, God protects us. He always protects us. So make sure you share this message with your friends. Have a great week this week. I pray for you daily by name. And I love you very, very much. And Kathy and Peter, probably talked to you about those angels last week, and that was my miracle. Those angels, I know, were holding me when I should have slipped and broke my tailbone. But anyway, I love you, and I just hope you have a great week and pray about God's protection. All right, take care. Bye-bye.